Even police presence does very little. Even police presence does very little, as evidenced by the fact that in a crowded metro station, a dude walked up to I believe, a homeless lady who was sleeping and lit her on fire. Go to some regular news for a second while I go pee, and then I'll be back in a second. I have to pee.
And it is already 2025 on the other side of the world. Places like Auckland, New Zealand have already kicked off the celebrations, and here huge crowds are expected to watch the ball drop at midnight, despite some not so nice weather in the forecast. And just like every year, this event is a major test for law enforcement. They are working hard to keep everybody safe. Nikki Batiste got an inside look at those preparations, and she is down in Times Square. Good morning, Nikki, my friend.
Hi, Adriana. Good morning. Revelers still have a few hours to wait to get into the celebrations here in Times Square, but the NYPD has already sealed off the area and is working around the clock to keep the crowd of roughly 1 million here tonight safe.
Long before the clock strikes midnight and the confetti drops, the New York Police Department is hard at work keeping those celebrating safe.
It'll be busy here.
Yes, it'll be. We've got, some 70,000 networked cameras.
It's here in the Joint Command Center where the New York Police Department is monitoring thousands of resources deployed across the city, ready to detect threats from guns to radiation.
You're going to have representatives from across our own department, other agencies, all here looking at all of these cameras around us, sharing information and intelligence in real time.
Rebecca Weiner is the Deputy Commissioner of Counterterrorism and Intelligence for the NYPD.
How would you rate your concern for New Year's Eve?
Anytime you have this amount of people coming into such a confined...
This is manufacturing consent for the surveillance state. I don't want to be the fucking friend who is too woke, but this is manufacturing consent for the surveillance state. They're absolutely fucking telling you, like, no, additional police presence is there to protect you. The surveillance state is there to protect you. It's absolutely propaganda. Call me the woke of the day if you want, but that is precisely what's going on here. Propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. This person literally played a formative role in the crackdowns against the Columbia students that were protesting on college campus. The NYPD counterterrorism unit literally utilized some of the massive state and local resources to basically stamp out and brutalize a whole bunch of college students who basically were just saying, Israel is mean, okay? They failed spectacularly in apprehending and catching Luigi Mangione. They relied on literally a random person doing the wrong thing. And ever since then, they are trying to desperately do that is pro-surveillance state.
Find space over a long duration of time. It is going to be a desirable target for somebody to do something bad.
Authorities.
This level of surveillance is rarely ever successful. This level of surveillance is rarely ever successful at apprehending criminals. It's just a way for overinflated budgets. This level of surveillance does virtually nothing to actually apprehend people who are doing unimaginably violent things. Even police presence does very little. Even police presence does very little, as evidenced by the fact that in a crowded metro station, a dude walked up to I believe, a homeless lady who was sleeping and lit her on fire. Cops casually strolled past her body on fire as the person who did the act was just standing and watching. Okay? Sad, incredibly sad story. All of that surveillance, none of it mattered.
They say tonight's security plan has been calibrated to what's happening overseas following the Christmas market attack in Germany. Trucks will be in place to prevent vehicle ramming, a now common sight among big events here.
We'll make sure each one of those who come here to visit and enjoy the ball drop will be safe.
From coast to coast, law enforcement is sharing the same message.
We all know that public safety begins with us.
While in Boston, officials are asking those out celebrating to remain vigilant and report any suspicious behavior. As Atlanta prepares for its famous peach drop downtown, authorities there are dispatching hundreds of additional officers.
And wherever the city may call upon its police department, we're going to be there. We'll be there quickly.
I'll follow you.
The NYPD tells us there are no specific credible threats to tonight's celebrations, but the department has been operating at a heightened threat environment since the October 7th, 2023 attack in Israel. As for the weather, guys, it's not looking great, and there are no umbrellas allowed through the security checkpoint here in Times Square. For a look at the New Year's Eve forecast, here with me now is meteorologist Rob Marciano.
Hey, good morning, Nikki.
Good morning.
It's balmy out here.
It's dry so far.
Yeah, that's the good news. The bad news is that the credible threat is for rain tonight, and so having an umbrella would be helpful. Unfortunately, you can't do that if you're here in Times Square. It's raining right now in places like Chicago, places like Indiana, and soon-to-be places like Columbus, Ohio. And that's going to be the problem as this rainfall, as you can see on the radar, future radar, is going to be into New York shortly after 7, 8, 9 o'clock tonight. Some of the heaviest stuff could come at or after midnight.
What the f does October 7 have anything to do with public safety in New York City? Hamas. Hamas is going to attack Times Square is what they're claiming. Just like they said it was a Hamas-related incident in the Christmas market in Germany, and then it turned out it was like an AfD supporter that did it. So they quietly packed up that narrative. They just kind of casually dropped it out there. And this wasn't like right-wing psychos who were speculating that it was probably a Hamas-related terror incident, by the way. It was straight up objective, in air quotes, news media that was speculating. I like that we are increasingly becoming more paranoid, more schizophrenic, and just like hallucinating alternative realities openly on Maine over and over and over again. Seems to me like we are moving away from being a healthy society to being a deeply unhealthy society. They make arguments about old migrant crime, never about cops preventing crime. It's insane.
Maybe some snow across places like Detroit. Winds are going to be an issue too. So temperatures will be mild, yeah, but winds will be gusting 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour in places like Nashville or Washington. So that could bring down some trees or power lines, but Chicago to Cleveland.
I think it's also wild to think that, like, I think it's also wild to assume that in the United States of America, okay, that if there was to be like a mass shooting incident or like an act of domestic terror, the assumption that it's going to be an Islamist Hamas supporter is so extra insane because we live in the mass shooting where virtually anyone and everyone does mass shootings, and the overwhelming majority are still straight white dudes in general. But regardless, like virtually anyone and everyone can conduct a shooting, and it's almost never about you know, Palestine or whatever. I think my mom is mama. Oh no, I forgot to order her
and
salad.
And a place like Roanoke, at least hold on to your party hats because it will be breezy. It's a pretty
like, not to say that it can't happen, mind you. It's just that it is unimaginably rare.
One that's going to be out rumbling through. So let's break down some of the cities, time zone by time zone. New York, 46 degrees. Maybe we'll get a dry slot around midnight, 50 in D.C. So that is warm. Detroit, some snow flurries. That's chilly, 34 degrees. 39 in Cincinnati, right around midnight. Seasonable in Kansas City, Minneapolis, Chicago. I think the rain will be done with you guys, so that'll be good. And then in parts of the Intermountain West, where you've had some fresh coatings of snow, that's good for the skiers. Temperatures will be seasonal there in Salt Lake as well. Denver, 22 degrees. There's another system coming into the Pacific Northwest, and that will bring in some rainfall right around midnight in Portland and Seattle, 41 degrees expected there. The cold air, though, will be coming in for the new year. Here it comes. So winter whiplash, back to it on Wednesday and Thursday. Minneapolis dropping about 10 to 15 degrees or more on Thursday here in New York City. By Friday and Saturday, we'll get back to needing the winter coat. So this will come in handy. You might need a scarf or a hat by then. But right now, we'll go out 2020.
There's a flight from Hong Kong going back to LAX, which will have gone back 2025 back to 2024 law. That's pretty sick. That's cool.
On a relatively mild note, but
California's weather is so boring. Excuse me, it's 62 degrees and hazy here, as you can see down on the left corner. It's 62 and Selam anne. Hayır.